Thanks, Ann. You know what? We're 15 seconds early, but I'm going to call this meeting. If you'd all please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. It is February 24th. This is the Broadwater County Commissioners' Business Meeting, where we take care of county business for the 6,000 residents of Broadwater County. This meeting is open to the public, and we welcome anyone to participate by promoting basic civility. Documents are available for review and copying prior to the meeting in the clerk and recorder's office, and they are in this notebook. These meetings are recorded. They are on YouTube and the county-wide website. These are the only videos of these meetings that are unedited and uncut. We follow Robert's Rules of Order and county civility and open meeting policies. Under Robert's Rules of Order, all comments shall be directed to the board chair. Sideline conversations, of course, are welcome, but we will have you take those outside into the hallway. For public comment, please come up to the podium here on the side of the room. Upon recognition by the chair, please state your full name for the record, and each time you stand to speak, because the recorder is going this way, people watching the video don't know who's talking. For public comment, each person who wishes to speak will be given an initial 3 minutes to do so. More time may be allotted by the board chair. Finally, this disclaimer has been approved by the commission via the approval of the weekly minutes and applies to all public comment. Public comment is the opinion of citizens and as individuals and does not necessarily reflect accurately on Broadwater County actions, operations, policies, practice, or processes. So with that, we will open this meeting to public comment on any subject not on the agenda and that the commission has jurisdiction over. Is there any public comment? Please state your name for the record, Shirley.
Wilson.
Thank you.
There is no agenda posted at the post office this morning. I did not check the school. First one I saw was in the hallway. I don't think that's notifying the public real well. So if we could step that up a little. Thank you.
Thank you, Shirley.
Where are the 3 places that it's supposed to be?
Well, I was going to answer your question after all public comment, but the resolution that we pass the very first Monday of every year states that we will only post in those 3 places if it is a revised or special meeting. For these regularly scheduled commission meetings, the website is on the agenda is on the website, along with the documents that we will be voting on, and also in the clerk and recorder's office. Those agendas are posted here in the basement and on the main floor of the courthouse. They are not required to be posted at either the post office or the school. That is extra or for special meetings or for revised agendas. Does that help?
And it did not make the paper either, just so you know. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Public comment? All right. We will move into approval of the minutes. We have the minutes that were sent out for February 18.
I will move that we approve the minutes for February 18th.
I will second the motion. It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes as submitted from February 18, 2020. Is there any public comment? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thanks, Ann. All right, Commissioners' Community Update. This is where we share with each other and with you what we've been doing during the week, aside from these meetings. Daryl, what'd you do this week?
Okay, well, I think we all attended the RY Timber Community Meeting, the Public Safety Mill Levy meetings. I had the opportunity to judge science fair projects again, which is always fun. I'm always amazed at our youth and the things that they come up with. the CHIP grant meeting, and for those that don't know what CHIP stands for, it's Community Health Improvement Plan. And it's designed to improve health and well-being for the citizens in our community. And that's ongoing. Attended our Board of Health meeting, Safety meeting, and the LEPC meeting.
Perfect, you've been busy.
Yeah, and I think Commissioner Delger was at some of the same, and you as well, so, yeah, it's a busy week.
Yeah. There was also a conference call with the National Justice and Public Safety Committee, getting ready for the work we'll be doing next week. And then the community met for a community building meeting, and that was spectacular, inspiring. And that was it, on top of what you've already said. So with that, do we have any certificates of survey? Bernadette?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Bernadette Swenson from Schauber Survey. I have a mortgage tract survey.
Can you give us a little explanation?
You bet. It's for Double LC Ranch, or Double C Ranch. And it's a, 2,000, a little over 2,000 acre mortgage tract required by the lender. These go of record for mortgage purposes, but they do not become a parcel.
Thank you for that.
You bet. I was talking with Ann, in the past some have slipped through the cracks, so we try to call them tract M's and also that.
Okay.
You bet.
Thank you. Any questions or concerns? Daryl?
No,
All right.
pretty straightforward, so. What is the motion then? We just make a motion to accept the survey,
To support it.
to support it?
Yeah, we're one of the few counties, if not the only county, that actually has these come before the commission.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, they're just done, but we liked the idea of being informed. So we just support.
Okay. I guess that's my motion, to support the mortgage tract
Well,
for Double C Ranch.
Perfect. I will second that motion. So moved and seconded to support the mortgage tract for the Double C Ranch as presented. Is there any public comment? All right. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. And then we just need to sign that
Sign
piece
that.
of paper.
Yep.
Thank you. And you get to sign too, Aaron.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bernadette.
You bet. Okay, thank you.
All right, Corey Swanson, County Attorney, letter to Townsend Health Systems acknowledging legal responsibility for MCA for environmental remediation. And Hugh, right there you are, and Brad. There's copies of this letter for each of you if you're interested. It's kind of a repeat of what we've been signing. And if anybody else would like, if they don't, we have a couple of copies here for you.
The next one here as well. It's the next one here, yeah. Okay.
Anyone want one? I have one. Do you have one, Brad? You good?
Yeah, I just got.
Okay. Good morning, Commissioners. Corey Swanson, County Attorney. And as we've been through a lot of this, okay? It's been several weeks now, I guess, when we had a joint board meeting with the County Commission and the Hospital District to sign several documents. One of the documents signed at that time was a prior version of this document. And what has happened since then is a couple, I think, significant developments. First, after that meeting, the county received a letter from Montana Department of Environmental Quality with an environmental opinion specifically stating that the contamination, the identified contamination sources at the property that we call the former Grover's Exxon, that those releases are, according to basically all the consultants, responsible for the contamination that's migrated to neighboring properties. We've had a lot of discussions about that. One of those is a property that's owned by the hospital district that's being remediated through a different subgrant. That opinion is very important because in the process of doing this, the closure and evaluation, environmental assessment for the hospital sale, we discovered some underground petroleum contamination on that property. That letter from DEQ states that the source that's been identified is responsible for that contamination. That's important because that means that the funds that have been set aside through the petroleum cleanup fund are to be utilized for that hospital cleanup. And the second thing that letter did is it indicated there's actually 2 documented releases and that they couldn't distinguish which of those was responsible for the hospital contamination because the evidence is that they've been commingled. As a result of that, funds from both of those documented releases are available for the cleanup of not just the hospital property, but other properties around that may be further remediated or identified. That was kind of the last thing that the Billings Clinic folks were looking for before the closure, before the sale and the closure of the purchase of the hospital by Townsend Health Systems, which is kind of done in conjunction with, or will be done in conjunction with a membership substitution in terms of how the hospital organization is run, not just the building. So as a result of that, we then have spent some pretty extensive conversations and negotiations with the purchasing party, and we've basically taken the assurance letter from the commission from about a month ago and we've modified it slightly. So the letter you have in front of you, it looks very similar. There's only 2 changes. The first change is the 3rd paragraph of page 2, where we specifically cited the fact that we have now from Montana DEQ an environmental opinion that the identified releases from the Grover's Exxon property are responsible for the remediation at the hospital property. And then the second change is the bottom paragraph on page 2 carried over to page 3, and that was the affirming of Broadwater County's responsibility for that cleanup. That's a very long paragraph. You and I were joking about, the more lawyers you get involved, the more sentences get added to the paragraph and the more words get added to every sentence. But the step forward represented by this green language is that at some point in the past, what we were asked for was for the county to issue a blanket indemnification to the purchaser of the property. And that was just too broad. I mean, that the way the language was structured, it would open up basically our being somehow brought in on liability on any variety of claims which we wouldn't legitimately be liable for. This language makes it clear that simply what they're asking for is the indemnification for that petroleum remediation. We're already responsible by law for that. We're already responsible by law, particularly pursuant to the DEQ opinion. This simply provides the assurance to them that we will do our duty to cooperate with DEQ in order to do that cleanup. The final caveat that we put in here was when this cleanup process is proceeding, the county is required to cooperate as a property owner and as the entity with the source. But really the county's not in charge of the cleanup. DEQ and the environmental consultant that they use, Earl Griffiths, are responsible for it. So we can this is our attestation. We won't put our foot on the brake. But we can only put our foot on the gas so much before DEQ says, we are in charge of this, Broadwater County, you're not. And so we've had a lot of discussions about that, and they understand that we're simply saying we're gonna fully cooperate and meet our responsibilities, but we can't force DEQ to do it on a different timeline or in a different method than what they determine is in the best interest, because they administer the entire fund for the entire state. And the THS and Billings Clinic attorneys are all good with this. I've received an email this morning that they are fully satisfied with the text here. So my recommendation is that the commission sign this. The other thing that happens that's a little different from the prior letter is that the prior letter had both the hospital district and the county commission signing it. In those conversations, they indicated, well, we understand the hospital district wants to sign as a supporter, but the reality is that the program, the DEQ funding, et cetera, it is specifically a county commission, a county obligation, not a hospital district obligation. So having that second signature wasn't important to them. So I wasn't sure if the district would be available as far as publicly noticing a meeting or whatever. So this letter just has the single signature from the county after approval by me. With this done, there's one final thing. It's an encroachment easement, which I just got Friday.
I signed it, Brad needs to sign it, I think.
Okay, so the commission, and that's a hospital district matter. And then there's going to be a ream of documents as we move towards membership substitution and closing. And obviously, we at this point, last I saw from Stuart Kirkpatrick this morning, we're looking for that timeline, but we don't have it yet. Obviously, we'll inform you as soon as we do. But so I expect at some point between now and closing, if there's any modified documents, we may come back for a meeting. But the approvals that have been signed by yourselves and by the hospital district, and I think the key one is the hospital district. The hospital district board has empowered the officers to sign documents if there's just basically modifications to what's already been approved in substance. So this should be the final thing that was holding up the sale, and I believe we are optimistically looking forward toward completion of this transaction. And I'll answer any questions.
Thank you. Is there any questions for Corey or for the commission? All right. We've signed this before. We've been here together before, so hopefully this is the last step for official signature. Looking at Brad, who's wearing a big smile. Any questions from you, Daryl?
No,
All right. None from me either.
as happy as everybody else to see this getting down to the final stretch, so that's great. So I guess I would recommend that we sign the letter.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
All right, I'll second the motion. It's been moved and seconded that we sign this letter as presented, and this is to the Townsend Health Systems, Inc., a Montana nonprofit corporation. We need public comment. All right, those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. And what we'll do, if it's good with you gentlemen, Hugh and Brad, is we will scan a copy and send it to you guys. Will that work? All right.
Yeah.
You'll have that probably this afternoon-ish. And thank you all for coming. Thanks for all your hard work.
Thank
This has
you.
been a tremendous journey and is on the edge of being done. And you're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting.
Oh, come on.
Champagne is calling.
Meeting is adjourned. All right, just kidding. Next we have Melissa Meisner. Request to use Connors baseball field for girls fast pitch softball. Hello, Melissa. Good to see you.
So as you said, I'm Melissa Meisner. I'm here on behalf of the newly formed softball fast pitch board. So after discussions with the rec board and the city, I think we're finally aware that the commission is responsible for Connors Field. So if you are responsible for Connors Field, then we do have a few questions. It's unfortunately that Commissioner Delger's not here today because, as many of us know, Connors Field is a project near and dear to his heart for decades. So maybe he'll be able to answer some of our more specific questions, but I guess my first question is, are you guys who give us permission to use the field?
We can put that to a vote. My vote's yes.
Okay,
And it's on the agenda, so you will have an answer, I
Okay.
think, today.
okay. So is it okay then if I proceed with my questions about that? Okay, so our first question then is, besides using the field, we're wondering if there's a cost associated with that we need to build in. I did write up for you guys kind of the basics of how long our season lasts and who will be playing so that you wouldn't necessarily have to take notes on that. So our season starts March 30th and goes through May 5th. We're hoping to get girls playing anywhere from the age of 6 through 14. We're currently in the middle of sign-ups right now, so we'll know in the next week or so how that turns out. We're joining basically the Bozeman, Southwest Montana group, which includes Livingston, Big Timber, Manhattan, Three Forks, NS. So games will be home and away, so half of the games will hopefully be here, with the exception of the idea if we played Big Timber, for instance, these are weekday games for kids. So if we played Big Timber, for instance, the idea is that we would meet in the middle and play somewhere there. So not exactly half of the games will be home, but we will be bringing people here to play. So our questions are cost of using the field, who would then be maintaining the field, and what that would entail if we needed to be maintaining the field. There are a few things that we do have concerns with at the field. The main issue being the bathrooms. They are vault toilets currently, but I don't believe that they're usable. So our thought is that we could bring in a porta potty for the season. And we were hoping the commission would provide those, or at least help us with those. We do have a commitment from BSE to help us with any dirt work that would be required to get the field up and running. Our last question is, we have been trying to get sponsors. So our question would be sponsorship signs. There are some sponsorship signs currently hanging on the field. We're not sure if those need to stay. I think those were deals where it was, they got the field up and running, so we're curious if those signs need to stay and if we can add our own for the season or possibly throughout the summer. I think I'm looking at Erin because she's here now to help me, so I'm looking at her to make sure I've asked all the questions that we do have.
Do you have any to add, Erin?
The
questions
only
to
other
add?
thing is that it had gotten brought up to us that there might be other groups that were using the field in approximately the same amount of time. And I know the baseball will be getting up and rolling before the end of our softball season. And so, and then it would become like scheduling. And so how do we work scheduling with other people who may want to use the field? So that was, I think, the other question. The only thing, Melissa's really good, she covers everything, so I'm sure she's got the more complete list, but I know that one was hanging in my head as well.
On our sheet, you can see what the schedule is. Basically, a couple of age groups would play Mondays and Wednesdays, and the other two age groups would play Tuesdays and Thursdays, with occasional weekend games that would probably be makeup games and the like. We'd probably like maybe a little bit of time for practice as well. So games do start the 30th of March, so we'd probably like to get on the field as soon as it gets nice enough to be out there to get some practice in before we start. It's a short season, it's only about 6 weeks.
All right, so you're right, some of these we're gonna have to ask Mike about,
Right.
but is it okay, we'll put that to a vote, but I think that's easy, because that's what it's for. The cost, we have not put anything into our concessionaire agreements that there will be a cost. We haven't talked about that. I would suggest, especially for the first year, no cost, to give you guys a chance to get kind of on your feet. And if there is a cost, that we work together to figure out something that's fair. The maintenance. We were talking previously about our maintenance crew actually helping out. We can certainly ask Mike if he's interested in continuing on his own, like you said, he has been for decades, which is a Herculean task. But no, I think our maintenance crew can pick that up. Porta potty, yes, and I would suggest we put that request to the trust board. They have the money for promoting recreation. So, BSE, they're a great one for dirt work, so's our road crew. So you've got two sources there. Sponsorship signs, that's a Mike question, because I don't know what the deal that was made in the past. He might, I would say for new sponsorship sign, or hanging new signs, we already have a precedent set with the fairgrounds. So, yeah, I can't see any reason we would not allow that. It's great advertising, great way to get the community involved, and we already do it. So we can follow that model, and then scheduling, we also have a model there for scheduling a 4-H room and meeting space. Perhaps that's one that some of our staff could actually help with and use the website to help schedule and work with you guys and any other groups that are interested. So that was just off the top of my head, Daryl. What do you think?
I guess I had a question on BSE. What kind of work needs to be done?
Well, we're not really sure. Our initial look at the field is it's still pretty well under snow, maybe not today, but I went and looked at it last week and it was still pretty snow covered, so
Okay.
we're not real sure, but Brandon just offered in case we needed it.
Oh, just to clear the snow? Is that what you're saying?
Well, so if I can jump in here on this, from what I remember last year, we've got a couple, in terms of getting our season going, because reality is there's more improvements that need to be done on the field, but for our season to get going this year, I believe we probably are going to need to bring in some sand and put it on. Right now it's dirt, it's pretty hard, and so our kids will be required to slide in spaces. It's pretty hard for that, and I wouldn't want to see anybody injured, so I think we would want to have some sand put on the infield. In terms of the outfield, the other safety concern that I have is there's a lot of gopher holes. And last year when we practiced out there for baseball, we kind of took pin flags and put them in at the gopher holes so that we could kind of, the kids could see and kind of stay out of those areas. And then we, were out there with a shovel filling them in so that nobody would fall in and trip. But that would be, my concern is that would not be acceptable if we're bringing in other teams to play. We'd want to have it a little bit more safe out there for those kids. So those are the two, I know, safety concerns that I had, and then, like Melissa said, then it's the sanitation of the bathrooms, I think. So, other than that, I know that the rec committee has been out there and looked at other things like the irrigation system and stuff like that, but those are things that would really be in play when we're asking to use the field. So I think those would be the main things that we would be looking at. And yes, Brandon has offered to help with that. So
Great.
Okay. So Brandon was going to donate his services and the sand. Is that correct?
I don't know about the same,
okay.
but certainly hours, man
Okay.
hours.
Fantastic. Any other questions, Daryl?
No, I guess right now I don't.
I have a request, if I may. Can you guys put together the same type of fact sheet on what you think needs to be done out there?
Okay.
What I would like to do is take these and that sheet, plus a letter from us to the trust board, and lay out what's needed, and then see if we can get some assistance with paying that. The field becoming under the county actually was a trust board proposal a couple of years ago. Mia Whitfield took us through the steps with the National Park Service to get that turned over from BOR property to city-county property. And that's what we created the rec board you guys worked with. So it seems to me that it makes sense to go to the trust board with all these things that you need, and also share what Brandon is willing to do. I think it's important to draw in as many partners, and if there is a grant, that would be a great match to the grant. And then we can get these things taken care of, because you're right, our kids, when they're looking at the ball, they're not looking at flags in the ground. And the last thing we want is a couple of broken legs or ankles or other bones or injuries or lack of fun playing. I mean, this is a great opportunity that you guys have brought to us. So, yeah, give us everything you can and we'll take it to the trust board.
Okay.
Yes.
It would be nice, we'll maybe work with Commissioner Delger and see if he could take a tour with us because he'll have so much insight as to the field. what it means.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah. So with that, I guess the first thing we need to do is, do we grant support for the use of the field in this way? And with that, I would think we would pledge to work together to put together a plan for bringing that field to where it needs to be for the safety of the kids.
Yeah, sure, I think it's the thing to be doing, so I guess that my motion would be to support the use of Connors Field and then to get these questions answered.
I'll second that motion. So it's moved and seconded to support fast pitch at Connors Field, and to go through the questions, get answers, and put together a plan. Any public comment or questions as to the motion? All right, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Ladies, thank you very much.
Thank you,
This
you
is
guys.
exciting.
Good, thanks.
And, you know, I think, like you said, it's near and dear to Mike's heart. I think he is gonna be really pleased with what you guys are putting together.
Good, thank you.
Thank you. And I'll give that to you, Ann.
Okay.
And you two are also willing, or more than welcome to stay.
We all feel the same way. Thank you guys.
Thanks, Nicole.
Appreciate your support a lot.
Thank you very much.
I'm just here to cheerlead.
All right, we are a little ahead of schedule and we do not have our next appointment here yet. So I'm gonna defer to our agenda that says issues and times are subject to change. We do have a 2020 census report response that is due by the 1st of March. What I would suggest is we don't have the contract with us. We have had it in our office for some time to review. What I would suggest is we go ahead and have a motion to go ahead and sign it and then perhaps get another copy.
Yes, I'll make that motion that we sign that contract for the 2020 census.
I will second the motion. It's been moved and seconded to sign the 2020 census report contract. Is there any public comment? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. And then the next one is county work comp coverage inquiry from state fund and sites insurance. This is done. So what we talked about last week, to bring everybody here up to speed. The state fund is interested in taking over the work comp trust that we currently are with MACO. So the proposal is that MACO, there's 42 participating counties, will transfer to state fund for our work comp insurance, and we will share the services of Sites Insurance Agency, who will be the intermediary or liaison between state fund and the county trust. The benefits of this are savings potentially, and it's a conservative number of $52,000 a year to the county. And there's an opportunity that has been proven with state fund that there are annual dividends that come back to the county as well. We have two different options for this. If we were an individual county going to state fund, we'd have one option for dividends. As we are with the MACO group, we have two options for dividends, which means we could get 2 dividends annually. The negatives are that MACO had to let 5 people go in order to make this happen, which with, as you guys know, very small staff, it's always hard to see good people let go. And the people who are in that situation are absolutely dynamite employees with MACO. So that's that is tremendously hard. The other negative is that we will still use Julie's Aperion and Centennial Insurance for the property and casualty trust, but not for the work comp. And we've been working with the safety coordinators at Mako, specifically Amelia McEwen, who is one of those people that will no longer be with Mako, and we will probably have a safety coordinator with sites, insurance, or state fund. So, I think that's the full update, shortened from our 2.5 hour conversation at Mako. I won't take you guys through that whole journey, but are there any questions? All right, so there's the contract again, that's been in the clerk and recorder's office and in the commission office. Any questions that I need to expand more
I
on?
don't think so. I mean, you know, I know State Fund is proven to have done a pretty good job here. And, you know, from the business side of it, I mean, if we can save money and receive a dividend, I guess that's something that we really need to take a hard look at, so. It's unfortunate that we have to lose some great employees from NACO,
Yeah.
but. So, is that for us to sign for today then?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we need a motion to proceed and sign, and it will go to state fund. They will work their numbers, and then they will return with the solid number of savings.
Okay.
And the expectation for most counties is it will be higher than the estimates we've been given at this point. But they didn't want to come in lower, they wanted to come in higher. So they were very conservative with their preliminary estimates.
Sure.
And for Broadwater County, that was $52,000.
And I think in talking with some of the other counties that are using state fund currently, they're very happy.
Yes, and a couple of those were in the meeting, even though they're not members, specifically so that they could tell us what experiences they've been having. One of those is Yellowstone County.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have any further questions. I think it's the thing for us to do, so my motion would be to go ahead and sign this letter for the change to state funded sites insurance.
I'll second the motion. It's been moved and seconded to sign the letter and the contract, and the estimate to change work comp insurance to state fund. Any public comment? All right, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. I was thinking we both needed to sign, but I think there's just one of us. That's why I was sitting here like a bump on a log. jump into mail for about 5 minutes. We don't have much. We have a annual meeting notice for Vigilante Electric. The annual meeting will begin at 11 o'clock with registration starting at 10 on March 6th, which is a Friday. We have 2 items for signature: payroll, and this is for $189,363.47.
I will move that we pay the payroll claims in the amount of $189,363.47.
I will second the motion. It's been moved and seconded to pay payroll in the amount of $189,363.47. Is there any public comment? All right, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. We also have a statement of support for the Guard and Reserve. I'd like to put this on an agenda for the 16th of March. And basically it says, we recognize the Guard and Reserve as essential to the strength of our nation and the well-being of our communities. In the highest American tradition, the patriotic men and women of the Guard and Reserve serve voluntarily in an honorable and vital profession. They train to respond to their community and their country in a time of need. They deserve the support of every segment of our society. If these volunteer forces are to continue to serve our nation, increased public understanding is required of the essential role of the Guard and Reserve in preserving our national security. So I would like to put this on the agenda and have this displayed around the courthouse.
Yeah.
All right. And we're almost at 10:45, so we have Heather McMurdy of Public Health request support for South Pine closure for the Bike Safety Rodeo. Come on up, Heather. And we have the public health analysis.
All right, so on May 16th, the hospital is holding a health fair at the park, the Heritage Park, the swimming pool park.
Nice.
And so we are going to be holding our second annual bike safety rodeo, and we were talking to them about having it on the street of South Pine between B and C, and blocking that off and having the bike safety rodeo there, and it'll be from 10 to noon, and so it'll be at about the same time the health fair's going on. So we thought, that'd be good to have it with them, and because it's summertime safety is the theme for the health fair, and so we thought, there's a lot of bikers in Broadwater County, little kids, riding their bikes and stuff, and so we are asking if, so I talked to Colleen at the city office, and in order to get the street blocked off just from B to C, we have to have liability insurance coverage, and so I'm asking if the county would provide liability insurance for May 16th, and it'd only be from 9 to 1, so that we can have it covered.
Excuse me.
So we can set up and take down and everything. So that's what I'm asking for, is if you guys would do the liability insurance. And when I was talking to Colleen, this application has to be in the last meeting, because they meet April 21st, and so it has to be in before then, so that they can have it at that meeting to see if the city will approve it, so for us to block that street off. So, that's all I'm asking for.
Yeah. And the city will take care of all the blocking it off and things like that.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, I just have to put down here, the porta potties, the hospital will already have those, for the health fair, and so yeah, they'll provide the blockage thing. So Yeah, so that's what I'm asking, is if we can, if you guys will do that, so.
We provide that for like the farmer's market. Do we provide, or what other things are we providing
This,
liability insurance for?
And
Oh,
the farmer, senior farmer's
yeah,
market.
liability
Mhm.
insurance, yes, I'm sorry, I was thinking of closing off streets.
Yeah, liability
Yeah.
Yeah.
insurance.
But for sure the farmer's market.
Correct.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Also Connors Field.
Yeah.
Yeah, the golf course, Rod and Gun Club, fairgrounds, airports. Yeah,
Yeah, I think that should be anything new, so.
right, yes.
Okay.
We should
Right.
still have a motion so that you can take that to the city council
Yep.
and have it for documentation.
You have some
Okay.
stuff for us to sign too, Heather? We need to sign something for the city.
This is the application that Colleen gave me, and so,
Okay, so I don't know if there's, looks like there's nothing really for us to sign, but they just need our approval.
correct,
Or know that we're gonna provide that.
correct.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sure.
Do you need to see this, Ann?
So yeah, so I would move that we provide the liability insurance for the bike safety rodeo on South Pine Street.
I will second the motion. It's been moved and seconded to provide the liability insurance for the public health bike safety rodeo May 16th from 9 to 1. Any public comment? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. And what you may want to do is just attach the minutes when they're approved to the
Okay.
application. That way the city council has proof that we support and you have the insurance as required.
Thank you guys very much. We can move forward with this
Our
now.
pleasure. Today's becoming a recreation day.
There we go.
Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Hi, Teresa. Thank you for this.
Yeah, no worries. So this is actually what I brought to the Board of Health. This is our communicable disease plan, which is kind of appropriate right now with the coronavirus going around. Anyway, we have to update this every year and, make sure everything's appropriate for our county. And so I have done that, and there's a checklist that I have to send into the state along with the policy. It's called Communicable Disease Surveillance and Bioterrorism. So anyway, I have a copy here for you, and then the original one is the one that I have to send into the state, so I can leave that. If you want to sign it too, or do you need to?
Nope.
No? Okay.
No, just since there wasn't a quorum, I think we would be safe and smart to just make sure we have a record of it coming up for a
Oh,
vote.
okay.
Yeah.
Yep, no worries then.
And
Okay.
the only reason it wouldn't work for the Board of Health to have done it is because there just wasn't a quorum. So instead of having you wait till the next Board of Health meeting, if we take care of it here,
Yeah.
then you're covered, the report is good, and everybody's on solid ground.
Yeah, cause it kind of puts me into a time crunch if we wait till the next Board of Health for my deliveries, so, yeah. But anyway, I made a copy.
Oh, perfect,
And
thank you
so
very
you can-
much.
Have that.
All right,
All right, that's all I have.
thank
You
you,
don't
you're
have to
good.
motion or anything.
We
Okay.
will, but you don't need to be here for it, so you have a signed copy.
Thank you.
And so the motion should probably be to affirm the signature.
Okay, and is it communicable disease and bioterrorism, is that what that says?
Yes, I believe so, I think it's page 3.
Okay. Right, so I guess I would affirm that we have signed the communicable disease and surveillance and bioterrorism documents.
I will second the motion. It's been moved and seconded to reaffirm the signature on the communicable disease and bioterrorism documents. Any public comment? All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. All right, Bernadette Swenson. I'm going to defer also again to issues and times are subject to change. Bernadette Swenson with Shawver Surveying request to lift ag exempt status. And Nicole, are you guys working on this together?
I believe Nicole probably has info, I'll let her go first.
Okay, all right.
Nicole Brown, Community Development Director. I went and sat with Sean Higley and Jeremy Fadness with WWC. As you may or may not know, they are on retainer, or they're available to me for contract, thank you, contracted planning services. Here's one if Ann needs it. Because I did have a question on this one in particular. Do each of you still have your riser request red
Yes.
book here, so you know
Hey,
what I'm
Brandon.
referring to?
Are you coming back by chance? Okay, good. Sorry.
No, that's okay. So anyway, I took this along with a couple of other issues and sat with Jeremy and Sean to discuss this. Their suggestion was, and so what I gave you, I'm sorry, let me back up a little. What I gave you is our 2 pages from the 1999 Broadwater County subdivision regulations. The first page here shows part of the regulations where a resolution was to be signed if a survey was an agricultural exemption, along with a couple of other you can see on here, but particularly ag exemption, that it would have the letters AE after the COS number. The second page in this packet are the instructions for lifting an agricultural exemption. So if you look at item number D3C, it states, any change in use of the land for anything other than agricultural purposes subjects the parcel to review as a minor subdivision. So even though that may not have been our practice at the time, it was in our regulations. However, I think the reason I'm showing you this cover page, the 2003 survey in your booklet here, with the aggregation of parcels, it looks like this, where there's now 5 parcels. It's a certificate of survey, I don't know what the number is on here.
This is the last one, or the
The
second to
yes.
last?
It looks
One,
like,
page 752.
that's correct, and the COS number is 141429, no AE. So that AE is absent from this survey, which to me would indicate that it's not depicting an agricultural exemption. So I feel strongly, as did Sean and Jeremy, that with this aggregation, the 2 agricultural parcels were eliminated. So this tract B, this is the one in question here, no longer has an agricultural exemption in place, because when the parcels were aggregated, you know, if you recall, we went from 7 tracts in this area to 5. The 2 tracts that were eliminated were those agricultural tracts. So seemingly they do not exist.
And this certificate of survey is after 1999.
That is correct. Yep, this certificate of survey is from 2001, I believe.
So, what you're saying is, we do not need to lift an ag exempt because an ag exempt doesn't exist.
That's correct. That's what I'm saying. That's, and Sean and Jeremy agreed. I believe that Bernadette agrees and feels the same way.
Thank you.
So we found this, and I think these are good things to bring forward. You know, Bernadette found this in doing research, did her due diligence in bringing it forward, but I think through all of this discovery and research, we found that they actually no longer exist.
All right. I feel tremendously good about what you've just given us. Thank you, both of you. Nicole, this is excellent.
Well, it was Bernadette's work.
Bernadette, thank you.
Good learning experience for all of us.
For all of us.
Yes, yes. So we don't need to do anything.
No.
I don't believe so. I don't think there's any motion for you to make, because it simply does not exist.
I might add,
Come on up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Ross Johnson with Planning and Zoning. We looked at this at their last planning and zoning meeting, and we concur with what they came up with. We think that's the best option, just so. So
Awesome.
we supported it.
Right.
Thanks, Ross.
Thank you.
Yes, thank
Appreciate
you for
it.
bringing that up. I should have, you know, the planning board did take a look at this at 2 meetings, so.
Good.
And as the experts in planning, it means a lot to have the planning board support on this. All right.
All right, good. Well,
Yeah.
I'm glad.
This Monday has been, well done. Yeah,
I have one more item.
you
Can
may.
I?
Yes.
This is regarding county board appointments. Is this an appropriate time to bring this up? I believe it's a standing agenda item. Okay.
Yes.
The Parks and Rec Board would like to appoint, would like to recommend that you appoint Jennifer Dalrymple to the County Parks and Rec Board. She has submitted a letter of interest. The Parks and Rec Board unanimously supported that nomination. So all I need from you is a motion stating as much, if you feel comfortable.
Jennifer Dalrymple teaches at the school. In my opinion, she would bring a youth perspective. She's a PE teacher. She'd bring a youth perspective to recreation, especially with the revived interest in Connor Field,
Yeah.
like we saw this morning.
Can I spell Jennifer's last name?
Dalrymple. Dalrymple.
Would this be, did you look at the list of, I might have mine with me, but would this be a 1, 2, or 3-year appointment?
I believe this one would be 2, but I will verify that and have a letter for you. But I'm 99% sure that this was a 2-year appointment.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
I got that someplace, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm sorry, that was
My
kind of a last
stash.
minute thing when I. Does it appear it would be 2022?
Would she be replacing someone, or is it just? is this a-
Lorinda Spencer. Lorinda Spencer's term expired December 31st of 2019, and she did not wish to continue. So this was a,
If I don't
actual
actually see
vacancy.
her name on there.
Lorinda's not on there?
Am I looking at the wrong one? Take a look.
Oh, it is, I'm sorry, yep, you're right, it's not on there, it's showing as a vacancy.
Okay,
So it appears that with 1, 2, 3 expiring this year, so yeah, I would suggest that you do a 2-year, 2022.
okay. All right. All right, I guess I'll make a motion then, that we appoint Jennifer Dalrymple to the Board of Recreation.
All right, I'll second the motion. It's been moved and seconded to appoint Jennifer Dalrymple to the Rec Board for a 2-year term.
32-year term, thank you for
Any
that
public
friendly
comment?
amendment.
Yes, thank you. Public comment? All right, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Super, thank you.
Thank you
I
very
will
much.
put the letter on your respective desks.
Sounds
Good.
good.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Nicole.
And